Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been a little while since I've done anything on the 6.3 due to other projects, 4.5, the 380, all that stuff, but it's not so hot today, and I thought I would start a large series of videos on the repairs of the underside. I've already taken a lot of photographs as far as the mapping of the air, brake, fuel lines, return lines and all that. And so they're still all bolted in position. So first things first really is to undo those and save the orientation, so it will help me in fabricating the new one stuff. So I'm going to carry on with that. And what I've got on order is a couple of floor pans from the Classic Center in Southern California. And I've decided I'm going to replace this passenger floor pan. It's nowhere near as bad as this one, but I thought, you know what, while we're at it, kind of be good for you to see it done. I'm going to just use a logical process, try and copy exactly what they did before, all those sort of principles, and we'll see if we can get this done. Obviously this is a long body car, so we've got the 4-inch extension piece in this region of the floor pan. Now the floor pan's coming from the Classic Center SE model, so they're going to have that piece fabricated in. And so what I'm thinking I may do is scavenge part of the metal from these floor pans to do that little sort of 4-inch section, but we'll get to that in time. And there's people wondering why you build a rotisserie. Look how easy this is. All 10mm bolts and nuts to hold all the fuel and brake lines in. This is the bracket for the handbrake, and this was bent this way. I'm not sure exactly why, but this has got stress, so the bracket's supposed to be like this. It was all bent like that for some reason. These are your typical, you've seen these little brackets here, and they come with this rubber mount, split mount, to take 2 or 3 lines. This guy's got a choice of what you want to run through there. So obviously all new ones are these, and these guys, I will clean these and replate all these because that'd be kind of a fun job. So let's carry on and try and take this all off carefully in one unit to preserve the bends and everything, make it easier on making the new ones. Alright, just a little note here. This is the handbrake bar, and there's this bolt on there, this long sleeve nut I should say, on the end there. So you take that off. That's not going to come out. What you do, you see, is that you see this, you can pull it out of its track and then it unhooks. So pretty simple little device. So handbrake assembly is completely out. There's probably a little circlet round here I'll detach, and then all these are ready for cleaning and replating or painting or whatever is needed. You can see why the bar wouldn't come out. It's got a circlip at the end, or a split pin at the end there, and so that was covered in filth, so I didn't see that. So this bar can come out of there. Right, we should be all disconnected now. Break it there. Luckily these nuts came off pretty well because I soaked them, and also they're so covered in tar and stuff under here, so that stopped them being too much of a problem. That's a bit of brake fluid coming out. As you can see, that's going to make it a lot easier to have something like this in the general shape of things to copy. And this is where it dives into the engine bay essentially, and then rejoin some other lines there. So I'll preserve that in the shed as it is. First of all, I'm going to start breaking the spot welds, either by this guy, depending on this guy is wonderful for breaking spot welds in a controlled manner, or just a traditional spot weld cutter on the drill. So let me get started. I'm going to start on the back here and start working my way along. I'm probably going to save part of this, each of the floor pans, to use as the 4-inch extension on the new pans. As you can see, the tail coming off of the transmission tunnel here, and this is where the new pan will go, here, across here and then all the way along this rocker, and then underneath this panel, all the way down underneath these bars here, this transmission cradle, underneath this frame rail. We're going to break those spots here. We've got to be careful here because there's a box section where the seat sits, that's the driver's seat or the passenger seat. So there's spot welds here. I may rotate the car and just cut the pan from that point and then just carefully controlled break them off where I can then reach into the car. What I started to do was break the spot welds, but what I'm going to save some time here and cut the large majority of this just out. Okay, I'm going to save a section of this. We're going to cut along here. I will have to weld a little tail in here and a little tail here. And obviously we've got a box section here that's spot welded along here that we've got to care. So I'm going over to this side. Now we can kind of get a little bit more of a controlled break here, and I can play around. We're trying to save this edge here. Right, took me a little while to break this out, and what I ended up doing, actually found it easier, is just to cut the basic pan out as close to here as possible, as close to here, because it's very unlikely you're going to save the tails of this extension, and I'll just weld on new tails, because now I can separate that piece to using the new one. And this one is a little tricky because you have to drill through and then pull the pan out from underneath here without damaging this. You know, you can blow straight through this piece because then you can spot weld from this into the new pan. So even though that looks rough, I can straighten that out with a dolly, and then I can get all this tidied up, get to finish my patch section here. 16 gauge steel. Then I can now nicely finish off, because you can see these few spot welds here. I'm going to finish this off, weld this piece in, and then the pan can come in and close it up. And then it gives me the opportunity to just tidy up this area. This chamber is in pretty good shape, little surface rust. I'm going to treat all this before we seal it all in. But at the other end, at the other side, this has got rot in this. Okay, so this is going to need repair on the other side. So this shows you how these intersections come in. Main inner seal, and then the triangular section like I talked about in the other videos, and then the dog leg. All this is actually in pretty good shape. So we're good to go here. Yeah, on this front section again, I just hacked out the main floor pan so then I can get to all my edges without getting inside the car and messing around. I do have a little bit of tear because this is a fairly tight area, and I've got a little tear in the main rocker here, and I can repair this. And also this lip got torn up a little bit. Metal had a little bit of rust in between. All of it actually, as you can see that has surface rust between these pinches, and that's quite normal. You're going to see that. So I will repair this section. That's pretty easy. It's just two pieces. This is the rocker that I'd already replaced some time ago with the outer rocker and the jacking point. And now again, I can tidy up, straight line my pinch weld, which is great. I mean, this is so much easier standing up like this and doing it, I tell you. It's a little fiddly, and like I say, a combination of the spot weld drill, first pre-drilling, so the spot weld drill don't dance all over the place, drilling through, and then carefully with this spot weld bar, and so, you know, you're getting in behind, and then it's got a blade here so it can go sideways. Now what I've found is you'll get so far and it'll start to hang up. Don't go busting right through it. Stop, and invariably you'll have missed a little spot weld, and you just want to either drill it or hand sand it for a little control. It is not easy work. It's real kind of hard, brutal work, but you just got to get stuck in, get a rhythm, and just, you know, work your way along. It's no, don't have to be in a rush, do you? So I'm going in now to have a cup of tea, so I'm going to put a little bit of weld through primer, just prime this up so it don't flash rust or anything, not that it will. Okay, now we've torn the floors out, I've rotated the car on the other way round, level, and we're going to start breaking the spot welds in here. I noticed that I forgot to press the on button on the camera for the breaking of the spot welds underneath. So, so you see my method here. You might have seen it before, but I'll show you again. I'm obviously on the inside of the car now, and there's this lip here on the transmission tunnel. I've cleaned it up. Where is it now? Oh, with this air tool. This is a very aggressive wire brush attachment with the claws. They're not straight, the wires. They've kind of got like a claw to them. I bought this from Eastwood, but you can pick them up anywhere really, I think. And that's great for getting the under seal off, so you can get to see all of the spot welds. So I've relieved them now, and I can put a little black mark of pen around them so I know. And then I'm going to use my sanding method to break those. So I'll get you in close and show you that. Oh, hopefully you can see that. I've carefully marked all the spot welds with a black marker pen so it's easy to spot. And you've got to watch, some of them are really close to the edge, or you've got to try and make sure you get all of them. And then that will give me a targeted area from my sander machine. Okay, so here's this is a 1/2 inch belt sander, and don't use the cheap paper. I use Cubitron 3M, and I use the 60. You can go rougher than that, they've got 36, but I find the 36 granules, they're so aggressive that the granules break off too quick. I think this is the happy medium. It's very aggressive belt, the 60 belt, and the 3M ones, they last a lot longer than the cheaper ones. So basically, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to essentially sand those spot welds until they get so thin there's no strength to them, and then this should peel straight off in a controlled manner. Here we go. I'm going to start on these, so you'll see the idea, and then I'll do the lot, and then we'll start peeling. All right. See that one there? See that slight breakthrough? That's what you're looking for. Essentially breaking through this metal to the spot weld, and try not to break through and take out any material on the parent metal. So just we'll make this so thin it becomes so weak, and once you start wiggling this around it will start to show itself. So I'm going to carry on sanding these, and I'll get back to you when we start breaking them off. So there we have it. I've sanded them all. I've gone very conservative, very careful, but you do start to see areas where the spot weld is broken, and then I'm just tapping up on this edge to weaken it, and then you can go back and sand wherever you need to. I'm using this tool to get in between the metal here, see? I'm trying to, there you go. See, it's so weak now, this, but see? And you can see why I like this, because it's a controlled break. And yeah, it might be a little time consuming, but I tell you, let me show you the belt. See all those spot welds I sanded, right? And this belt has got still loads of meat left on it. So they're not particularly expensive, about $10 a box or something, and you get 10 of them. So, so let me put the camera on the tripod, and I'll show you how I'm breaking them off. Alright, so you see I just literally just tap this edge up, and then we'll just get our spot weld breaker in there. And just see, and then we can just tap it this way, you see. You get your under there, and see I might have gone a little bit aggressive and gone through to the other one just a smidge, but it's still got plenty of meat there. Still hard work, but and if it does catch up a little bit, just go back in. You see that one I haven't sanded very well, and so that's cutting the metal now. See, then we can go in. you get the idea. So now, see there's a little bit of surface rust. That's completely normal between these pinch welds. If you're using a spot weld drill, when you get through this metal, okay, you look very carefully at the drill and you'll see a little puff of rust dust. You know, that means you've hit the parent metal, and you stop at that point. I am not wild about the spot weld drills. I find that it's very easy to blow through both layers. I mean, that's not the end of the world, but it just gives you more work to do. I kind of prefer this slower method. So I'm going to carry on now. I just wanted you to see the method of breaking a spot welds. Right, so I took my wire wheel tool, my air tool, to clean up all this kind of underseal stuff, and you can see how clean it comes out. I might nick the parent metal a little bit. This silvery stuff here is still thin metal left over from this piece, so all I need to do is carefully clean this all up, get all this edge nice and clean, and that'll be ready for spot welding. I will use a zinc weld through primer to seal this edge and seal the edge of the floor pan, or the pan, which is this piece, goes underneath this cross member, and then this pan is underneath. So I've got to drill through this with a drill to relieve this piece, and then it disappears underneath a beam under there. And that area I may have to tilt the car again to get to that, and then we'll jump over to this section in a minute and start clearing the metal from the cross member there. This area, I'll do a little investigating and see the best approach to that, but you can see how effective this is, and it's just controlled, and you keep this nice and solid. That's the main thing. So that's all that edge nice and clean, ready to roll. As you can see, this is a transmission tunnel, and you can see there's some seam sealer here, and this again is that 4-inch extension piece for the long body. It's offset from the one at the back. They've staggered the extensions pieces for strength, I'm assuming. So anyway, so we've got that nice and clean. I might shoot a little zinc paint on that just so it doesn't flash rust, and then move over to the front area. Here's the front area. You can see all this torn metal here. That's an air hammer. So you can see how devastating that is, and that's okay to do very carefully because this beam is made out of heavier gauge steel, but still you've got to be cautious with that. So as you can see, all of the floor sealant and stuff, I can't see anywhere the spot welds are there, so what I'm going to use is a blowtorch and carefully scrape off that under seal. It's probably running around here, and it tapers to expose the spot welds, and have a fire extinguisher handy, which I have right next to me just in case. So let me claw that stuff off with my wire wheel attachment and some heat. Right, so now I've cleaned off a lot of this tarmac here, and there's a double row of spots here. You can just make them out. One here, here, all the way along. And I've marked a piece of tape. I'm going to cut along this tape line to expose the floor pan so I can get further over to here with the breaker bar, you know, the spot weld bar, and so I can bend this up and explore without doing any damage. So I find just stopping a lot and reassessing is a good habit. So let me run a cutter along here, and we'll peel this metal back. I've got to break a little bit more down here and peel this back, and then we can start eating our way in. I'll give the old jackhammer or body hammer will go on there, so see how this works, because as I say, the lower metal is 16 gauge here, 18 gauge here, so we'll give this a whirl, shall we? See, because this is that much hardier, it stands up. So this is only used in certain circumstances. It's a little bit of a brute, and now I'll just because I can't really get a good angle this way, and it's a little cramped in here, so I'll just go along here and then just clean this edge up and then get back to you. Right, back over to this side now. You can see this is, you know, our floor pan here, and then it dives under this cross member, and then the tail section, or the wing I should say, of the transmission tunnel comes into here as well. So I'm having to drill through this membrane, but not too far. I just want enough to break the weld to this guy, and hopefully there's another weld underneath, like a bead weld in a frame that I already cut, so hopefully we can lift this guy up and gently wiggle this guy out. But I do have to finish off this area. Oops, there we go. See, get rid of these guys along here and then start working our way along this double row here. This is the front, obviously, and this is the tunnel here, the transmission tunnel. This is the front floor, this is the wing to the transmission, and I've got a brake. I stopped halfway through so you could see what I'm doing. I sanded up the floor pan that we're going to get rid of here to break it from this panel, and then there it is there. If you can, I can see. Let me see if I can get it out while you're watching. There it goes. Did you see it fly off there? So I gently bent this back from this, and then there's the floor pan in between these. So, and this is all good metal to weld back to. Right, I turn the car more on its side again. This was probably one of the trickier areas here, because we've got this box section here with these very thin strips here. This was so tight and close, and there was a little surface rust there, so this did end up breaking this section here. But as you can see, a little rust here, and then it just crumbled, so I am actually going to have to weld a flat piece of steel on here back onto this box to give me something nice and clean to weld to, but that's not a big deal. But then we've got this frame rail arm, we've got this box section here, we've got this box here, we got the floor pan from the transmission area, and then we've got the floor pan that sandwiches underneath that, on top of this, on top of that. So there's a sort of intersection, and then see where this is here, it disappears under here, so the spot welds are on a piece of metal in here, and luckily they're not very strong spot welds, and I was able to just gently break them with my spot weld breaker. Let me see if I've got a flashlight and I'll show you in there. There you go, see that little lip there? It was able to break from that lip. It's a few inches in for access, so luckily I was able to break that edge off. How I'm going to tack weld it back on, I don't know. If I can get the nozzle of the spray gun just to put a couple of tacks in here. I mean, it's you know, as long as all the rest is fine. I think if this section isn't welded up absolute perfect, I'm sure you'll forgive me. There we go, inside the car now. This is the double row of spots that we broke. So one was the floor pan and one was the frame. This is the channel, the transmission, I think it's the transmission mount. Yeah, this is the transmission mount rail. And you can see there's some surface rust pulled in there. I'm going to take a wire brush attachment to that and get all the loose rust and treat that area and paint that with a zinc type paint to seal it up and make sure it doesn't rust. There's the alignment hole for the subframe. There's a corresponding hole here that has a pin that goes in it, so you can draw diagonals on the subframe, but that's for another thing. Also, it kind of acts as a drain hole as well. Little taddy here because the metal was a little thin, but I can weld in a new strip there. That came out really nicely. Punch some holes through, weld that in, no problem. We'll tuck in just between that joint there. I'm going to clean all these joints up here and then weld in a new strip here as a new welding strip. That's pretty straightforward. So let me clean that up, and I think this video is done. Obviously not going to get the pan in today, but this is the main work, getting all this out and getting a nice stable base ready for the pan to go in. Well, I think that's it for this one. Removed all the Floorpan, cleaned up all the spot weld areas. I have coated that member in there with a zinc based coating, yeah, to stop any rust developing. And so in the next video, just be a two-part video really, won't it? So we've removed it now, and now we've just got to make the small repairs to the little edges that kind of got a little broken up. So we got to prep our panel, meaning punch in some spot welds, certain distance apart. I'll check the original spec, you know, and just put them in the pretty much the same position. Make all those holes, and then we can spot weld or rosette weld this one in. Obviously this E-coat needs to be cleaned off. You can't weld to that, so I need to clean these edges, treat it with some zinc weld through primer, and as I said earlier on, I'm going to use a cut-off drill just to clean those that little bit of primer right on the spot area. But we'll get to that in the next video. So I really hope you've enjoyed this one. It's kind of really, this is the hard part of the work, is getting the old one out and making sure all the parent metal is in good shape, ready for this guy. So a large portion of the tough work's already done, so we've just got to get this all lined up, drilled out and welded in the next one. Alright, thanks a lot for watching guys, really appreciate it. Please hit like, share, subscribe and comment down below if you've got any questions or any tips. Alright, thanks a lot guys, see you in the next one, bye bye.